Hi there, it's Denise Beatty with the Fitness Fix. I wanted to show you some ideas for running technique and some things to think about. When you're running, you want to make sure that you don't have your bum behind you. So if you think about your position, it's basically like your pelvic floor is lifted. If you had a tail, you'd have the tail between your legs just a little, just to get that pelvis underneath of you. You're still in neutral spine, so you're not tucked under, you're just not sitting like this, like kind of sitting in the bucket. So when I do this, I feel lifted, I feel pelvic floor, hips under a bit. Then you're actually just going to shift forward and you'll feel how you have more pressure on the balls of your feet. So then if you feel like, oh yeah, I'm kind of leading from my pubic bone or my pelvis, not just my belly button. You can do this walking as well, but if you ran on the spot, for example, that's really nice foot planting, where you feel like you're kind of going from that midfoot all the way through the foot to absorb. The heels might tap down, which is okay, but you just don't want to have a really hard heel strike and then pull through. If your hips are behind you, it's easy to have a hard heel strike. So I'm going to show you that when I'm running. And then also when you're lifted and you're up and over, I want you to actually land with the feet landing right underneath you. So you're still in this kind of like a leaning tower of Pisa, right? You have the hips under, shift forward a bit. You're like, oh yeah, I feel the whole foot working. I feel my toes gripping my pelvis. So we're going to give that a try with the running. So I'll start with the little jog here. So I'm first going to show you my hips back. So this tends to happen. It's very loud, it's a heel strike, looking a little messy. So now if I just think about my pelvis being underneath me more, I feel like I'm lifted up and over, chest and shoulders are lifted, and I feel like my foot's quite relaxed. Then if you go to do more intervals, you can keep feeling like the pelvis lifts you more than anything. So if you want to go a little faster, I think of my pelvis lifting me up over my feet, getting a really good pickup from my knees, shoulders are relaxed, and I get a good hip extension through as well. So I hope that helps with part of it. Now the next part, as I catch my breath, is on incline. So now when we have an incline, you want to feel like you basically have to have that lift as well. And you want to feel like you're not trying to drive in front and land on the heels. You want to stay really lifted and still go a bit more toes, like you'll go toes down to heels. I'm going to try to demonstrate that as I get the incline up as well. So I'll show you some kind of not as great technique and then a bit of a better technique. Okay, we'll get us into a jog and a little incline. So this is what tends to happen. People tend to lean forward and drive the legs hard. Now if you lift, really pick up those knees, maybe a bit more in the toes, chest and shoulders are lifted, my heels don't actually touch. I can really feel them help me explode, but I'm lifting through the pelvis and driving the elbows back. So I still have a bit of that forward lean or technique. Running downhill, I can't demonstrate on here, of course, but what I want you to think of is downhill, your hips are going to be lifted up over top, and I want you to still feel like when you pick up your knee that your foot's relaxed. So whenever you're running, you don't want to pick up with the foot kicking out to the side. You want to have the core lifted, pick from the hip flexor. So if you're running towards me, I'm always going to be able to see your laces, whether you're running flat and fast or downhill. Uphill, maybe not as much because you have to really pick that foot up, but you get the idea. I don't want to have this kick. You'll see a lot of people as they fatigue doing that. Part of this is related to the spine position and the hip flexor's ability to work. If you're going downhill, keep the hips lifted. You still don't really want to be able to see your feet. You might kind of catch as you're going down the hill a bit more toes to heels. Try not to have that dramatic heel strike. So there's a few things to think about, but really it all starts in the spine. Make sure everything's lifted so that hip flexor can help pick up and that foot has that relaxation phase. That slight lift as you're up and over and nice and lifted from the upper body as well. So I hope that gives you a few things to think about. I'm going to finish off with just one speed interval where I try to just focus on my technique. I'll show you me sinking back and then lifting out of it. Here we go. We're getting this incline down first, I'm telling you that. Here we go. The interval. So I'll go a bit faster and show you when my technique's not as good. And you can hear my feet, and it's hard on all the joints. And I'm going to go right up to 10. I was just at 9 here. And then if I lift out of it, I can feel like I'm lifting up and over. My feet just get to respond underneath me. Feel those hips power through. And feel like you're floating. Nice relaxed feet from the pelvis and core and shoulders are lifted. I hope that helps and gives you some tips to think about.